We're starting today off with a very futuristic and musical field. Our next guest, Alex Braga, is an Italian musician who was the first one to invent a software that implements a musician's style of improvisation and then provides uncountable musical options that suit the artist's style. Today, Alex Braga is going to share with us how he successfully combined the two worlds of artificial intelligence and music live from Rome. His EP Spleen Machine launched on the 3rd of July this year, and you are going to hear what that sounds like right now. Enjoy.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I hope you hear me. And thanks for having me here. Well, thanks for not having me there, but for holding this fantastic meeting despite the situation. I should have been there playing in person, and it should have been a totally different experience. But we do what we can do in these hard times, and we try to keep up with live events, art, music, and whatever that comes with. I've worked with artificial intelligence for a long time now, and I'm not defining myself as a software inventor because I'm not a coder. But I have to credit the two professors of engineering that have worked with me on this project, which are Professor Francesco Riganti Fulgini and Professor Antonino Laudani from University of Roma Tre. And they have done with me the whole process of designing this new instrument, not a software. This is what I like to call it, because to me, artificial intelligence, it is a radical new instrument to empower and open up new possibilities for the artists and whoever plays music and whoever wants to dig into the process of making art and multimedia art, because Aiming produces visuals as well. Why do we need such a research in the art field right now? Well, the reasons are mainly two. The first one is that artificial intelligence, it is a very talked about topic in the last few years. And most of the arguments and topics I've been reading in the newspapers were not very easy on artificial intelligence. People are very afraid about artificial intelligence, and this is why I started the project in the very first beginning of my research. I've always been a kind of a nerdy artist. I've always been into computer music and electronic music, of course. But digging deeper into artificial intelligence was a need in search of answers to a big question that was anthropologically devastating, and it is still devastating the public opinion. Is artificial intelligence good or bad? This was the main question. Is artificial intelligence going to take away the centrality of mankind from the process of society? And a lot of people said yes. A lot of journalists said yes. I remember one journalist writing that by 2033, he had a specific date in mind. Artificial intelligence would enslave humanity, and we would all become submitted to some kind of a higher artificial intelligence that would rule the world. Well, I've never been so pessimistic in my life, and as I was saying before, I've always been quite nerdy. So I thought, maybe this is not the only way to look at things. Maybe there's another way around. What if we can take artificial intelligence and we can work with it in a perfect balance to reach a sustainable future? Because what is artificial intelligence if not a very clever way to analyze a huge amount of data? This is what it is. Then they called it artificial intelligence, and this was probably the worst mistake that the people that have worked on this chain of algorithms have done. Because once a very clever professor told me the whole problem of the debate around artificial intelligence, it's its name, not its function. If they had called it long chains of algorithms that can help humanity to live a better life, nobody would have had no doubt about the usefulness and the mindfulness of artificial intelligence. They called it intelligence, and they touched the very pride of mankind itself. We are the only intelligent being on the planet, or we think we are the only smart and intelligent being in the planet. So there's nothing that can compete with us. So this was kind of a lexical mistake that kicked off and sparked a whole huge debate around what is right, what is wrong, what can be used, what cannot be done, what can alienate our consciousness to a machine, what will enslave humanity. To me, that is not really the point. Technology, it's not good or bad. Technology has never been good or bad. It's the use that we make of technology that makes it good or bad. If we keep this mindset, or if we have had this mindset in the past, for instance, nobody can now say that fire and the invention of fire was bad just because fire burns. Yes, of course, fire burns. And of course, fire has been used in the past to burn people, to burn entire villages, to hurt people, to harm people. But it's not the fire that did that. It's man. And it's a sick way of administrating technology and power. And fire was rightly used to build civilizations, to build what we are, to build our present society, and probably to build our future society. So a hammer is not good or bad. A hammer is bad if you take it and you grab it and you smash the head of somebody. That's not that's not the hammer that is bad. It's the man that picks up the hammer and uses it that way that is bad. So going back to artificial intelligence, the whole topic around whether is this big ethical debate and research, it's just around the consciousness of man that should be the research, I think, because if we use it right, artificial intelligence is just an amazing way to get us in the future in a sustainable way, and and it's the only way out of the mess we created of this world. And I used to do keynotes before the pandemic kicked in, and I was already very critical about how we handle society. And now my opinion has got, of course, worse. The pandemic is just a very blunt example of how we are not able to cope with ourselves. We're not able to analyze the data in the correct way. We're not able to use the resources and use our own life in the correct direction. So whatever comes to help with this process. And of course, having algorithms that helps us analyzing data in a more efficient way, I think should be very carefully thought about and should be very nurtured and used in the right way. Coming back to music, I thought that if I could bring this debate on stage with some kind of a new instrument, I maybe could have demonstrated that in a empathic and emotional performance, how technology and man can just work together and stay together in a balanced way, where man leads the role of the man, so leads the role of the centerpiece and masterpiece of creation and creativity, and technology does what technology should do, meaning gives you the whole endless possibility of analyzing data, even in real time, and gives you all the endless possibility where you, as a human being, as a creative human being, can choose what you think it's best. And so I created with the two professors AMINT, which stands for Artificial Musical Intelligence, which is a new instrument that actually enables you to explore, as soon as you press one key in the piano or in any kind of instrument, in that very moment lets you explore all the endless possibilities that you can never have as a human being. So whenever I press 10 keys in my piano, for instance, I have an answer as a feedback of around 200 notes back from the machine. And so by getting all these amount of data that I can wire back into virtual instruments, into visuals, and into whatever I need, I can rewire it again into the piano. I can get all these tons of layers of very thick and complex music, starting from a very simple scratch and simple idea. And all this happens in real time. So the very interesting part of my research and my project is that it can lead you in a very short amount of time from the pureness and the beauty of a very simple idea to the infinite complexity of the universe. And I think this is a very natural and holistic process, because it's what we go through in life as well. We always start from the purity of our birth, and we get into the complexity of the world that surrounds us. So the world is very complex. We are constantly into entertaining feedbacks with tons of other people, situations, families, friends, children, partners. And so life gets really, really complex. And all our processes goes from the very simple purity of one beautiful idea that somehow gets lost during the process and becomes a totally different thing. I would like to ask you, how many times you've thought something very, very clear and straight, that was straight in your head, and it came out a complete different deal because it's been corrupted, we can say that, corrupted by the tons of feedback that you receive all the time, constantly, in real time from real life. Well, this is life. This is a process that we go through all the time, every time, whenever we wake up till we go back to sleep, and it is a constant of our life. I think it's a pattern, it's a format of how we live our life. So, to me, recreating this process in the studio, into a stage, all in real time, in my music, in my art, was very, very fulfilling, because every time I recreate a kind of catharsis of what happens to me as a human being, as a man in real life. And this is what AMINT allows me to do. It allows me to put some order in all this process. I start from a piano, from a very simple, pure idea, and all of a sudden, the process cranks in, kicks in, and starts building up complexity that somehow goes all well together, goes all back in pieces, and the puzzle forms. And this puzzle is my universe. It's my wave. It's my wave of complexity that those shapes in a very beautiful and harmonic way. There is probably no rule on how to live our lives in a correct way besides the rule of harmony. This is why music is always referred to as one of the greatest and purest art, because music contains in itself the laws of harmony. And the laws of harmony are the same laws, the rules, for instance, the gravitations of the planets. So it's kind of a cosmological universal law that is contained itself in each relationship between every harmonic of every note. So putting all this back together into harmony is an exercise that helps me become somehow better and for sure calmer, because whenever I get on stage and I start performing, everything is improvised all the time, because the AMINT is a dynamic, evolving kind of artificial intelligence. It's an evolving instrument. That's why it's so futuristic. And so it becomes a process that it's always slightly different all the time. And this is really the challenge that I'm bringing on stage. So getting up with myself and my ideas and what I can bring and what I am, and having a totally different output all the time. And the output is totally different also because life is a matter of feedbacks. And whenever I start a process and start layering and stacking up arrangements and sounds, I react in a different way as a man. And since as the representer of mankind in my little performance and challenging technology with my little performance, I represent all the small relationship between things and people and situations that happens in real life. So this is what happens on stage, and this is why I think it is very important that we keep searching, keep researching, and keep challenging ourselves, because technology, it's not nowadays topic, especially in art and music. Why did I adverse in a lot of experiments with artificial intelligence that are taking away the centerpiece of creation from man? There are a lot of at the moment on the scene, there are people like myself and other artists that really truly believe in a new kind of digital humanism form of relate to artificial intelligence and technology. And there's a totally different approach that some other companies, especially companies, have with artificial intelligence. And they produce algorithms that try to mock up and produce art without the intervention of a man. This is a very, I think it's a very sterile process, because a machine cannot produce art. Man produces art. And so a machine can just produce a pale imitation of what the algorithm has been fed into as art. But it will never understand nothing about what a song means, what an artwork means. And art is all matter of the meaning of things. This glass can be art. The water inside can be art. Just because me as an artist, I can fill up this water, which is completely transparent. You see, it's completely transparent. You can see me through. But if me as an artist, let's say I've collected this water doing a super magical ritual into springs of the Fijis or whatever, this glass with transparent water can become an amazing masterpiece of art. But what does a machine see about this? It will always see what you see, because the machine sees the significant and not the meaning. So for a machine, that will always be transparent water, thus not art. And this is the big mistake. This is why a machine cannot create art, because a machine does not hold the meaning. A machine knows nothing about love, about fear, about sweating, about die, about birth, about craving all night for your lover that has left you, about tears, joy. Knows nothing about this. And art is all about this. It's all about the joy and the fear and whatever I felt, the sweat and the love and the sex that was inside this transparent glass of water. So what do we need, and why do we need a machine that composes a la Mozart? We don't need it. That is bullshit, because it will never compose like Mozart. Because what is the greatness of Mozart? Not only the significance of his song, but mostly the meaning of its songs. So why writing those two notes together? It's because he died writing those two notes together. He spent nights and nights and nights scared about something, or with his heart pumping and beating for something. And that's why this interval came like that and not like this. And a machine will never know that. It can only copy the pattern that he sees in Mozart without understanding nothing. And art is all about understanding the meaning. And luckily, we as mankind are the holders of the meaning. And that's what should be in the future. In the future, humanity will be the holder of meaning, and machine and technology will be the holder of the hard work and the analysis of data. If we understand that, and this is exactly the point of my work, we can go on and win this sterile debate around artificial intelligence. If I can ask the director to put the second video I wanted to show you, it's the video about my first single that is called Spleen Machine, we can move on with the talk. Right, this video was shot at the Italian Institute of Technology with the Common Plus robot, which is a super new project of this Android robot made by Professor Nico Zagarakis, which I really thank him and his team. And it is kind of a sum of what I was saying before. In this video and in this track, which is called Spleen Machine, the robot seems stuck in a loop of mystical problems. He tries to pray. He tries to do some ritual gestures that for a robot are completely meaningless because it's just gestures, but it doesn't know nothing about what's behind every single ritual that we as human beings are used to do. And on the other side, human beings are so used to these rituals that they don't mean nothing to them anymore. And people are more keen to pray and do these rituals instead of living a proper mindful life. So the combination of then the music that comes into the robot and kind of saves him from this loop where he's stuck is what I precisely go seeking in terms of a balance between human being and technology. And this balance also between music and technology, which is a more technical and less philosophical topic, but it is strictly really important. So sometimes I get asked why there is so much technology in your work. Isn't technology going to be taking away you from the real meaning and becomes all significant and not meaning? And then I go back in history and I say, you know what? It's not like now. It's always been like that because most people don't know, but two of the most famous composers of all the time, which are Beethoven and Mozart, were firstly becoming really, really big and famous because they were the two masters of a new amazing technology that was invented just by then, which was the pianoforte. Before them, the pianoforte didn't exist. It was invented by an Italian, Bernardo Cristofori, and then taken by Bach into Europe and industrialized as the new instrument to make the music revolution. Why? Because it allowed people to play in a more efficient way. It allowed people to, artists to enable the crowd to listen much more what they were playing, because the clavicembalo was a very, very delicate, low-sounding, harmonic-rich instrument, but very, very low-sounding. So with the pianoforte, the dynamic started. The whole powerful thing of concerts and playing for people, playing with other instruments, with loud instruments, because the loudness of pianoforte allowed that. And Mozart and Beethoven soon became masters of this new technique and technology, and they became what they became. So I guess we could do examples like this forever. Jimi Hendrix and distortion for electric guitars. The Who and the amplification. The Who was the first band to go around touring with a huge set of KPAs, and that's what made their wall of sound. And so technology and music has always been, technology and art, I think, has always been something that we cannot take apart. And we should not, because an artist should search. An artist represents an avant-garde, and an avant-garde can never stop searching. Otherwise, we are screwed. If artists give up their role of searching and giving visions for what the future could be, or might be, at least according to their opinion, then nothing has meaning anymore, because we would all flatten on social networks and using technology for what is the bad sides of technology. So I guess this is why I keep doing my research. This is why I'm really grateful to all the people that have supported me and still are supporting me, like K7, my label, like the Conservatory of Santa Cecilia in Rome, which is one of the most ancient institutions in music in Europe and was the first one in the world to introduce artificial intelligence as a new instrument to be taught in classes alongside cellos, pianoforte, lyrical singing, and violin. And we did the very first masterclass of artificial intelligence because we all share the same approach. Music can be a very powerful way to lead us in a powerful direction, and we as researchers and artists must keep doing what we were born to do: research and push the boundaries forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alex Braga, for these very inspiring words about humans and art and machines, and of course about music and artificial intelligence. Our community had a lot of questions for you already. One of them I would like to ask you about now. They wanted to know, how do you think artificial intelligence can simplify our lives in the next few years, apart from making music, of course?
Well, to me, it's the pandemic is a very efficient way to demonstrate and answer this question. We must think about artificial intelligence as an evolving algorithm capable to analyze a huge mass of data and enable us to get the right answers from these data. If we were only able to read these data with a mindful headset and not with interests and profit and political warfares, that's where artificial intelligence could lead us the way. All the data that we've analyzed from the pandemic have told us very clear things, but politics have ignored that for different reasons and scopes. And now we are under a second wave of pandemic, and who knows when and where this is going to end. If we had followed data analysis with a savior mindset of mindful, wise politicians, we would have been in a different situation. So that's where artificial intelligence cranks in.
Thank you very much. And if you guys at home have any other questions for Alex Braga, then please send them to us on YouTube, our website, or on Twitter using the hashtag MFMW20. I'd now like to welcome Professor Linda Rath to host this Q&A with Alex Braga. Stage is all yours.
Yes, hello, Alex. Thank you so much for your very insightful keynote. I really loved it because you mentioned artificial intelligence and its role in society. So it was very philosophical instead of just technical, which was really interesting. You called AI in your context an instrument rather than just software. And I agree, it's neither good nor bad. It depends on the usage. You mentioned that you start with a few notes and then you end up with the complexities of the universe. And my question is, the definition of the universe is, and that's my question, defined by the instrument and therefore by the coder or the programmer who implemented the software. Aren't you scared that it might limit your imagination because you're confined in, whatever the instrument is giving you?
No, because actually what the process is like is just building a huge, massive, infinite amount of data. And how you build that universe, it's upon yourself as an artist, as a man or a woman. And if you think about it, this is exactly what's the process that goes on in everyday life. Every one of us live in our own universe, and how we build this universe is the matter of how we approach the world, how we approach the feedback that we receive from the world, how we associate the feedback that arrives from other people to our own inner self. That's how we build psychologically our own universe each day, every day, each one of us. And this is exactly what Mint as an instrument allows you to do, because I, as an artist, am the one that decides whether that massive amount of data goes into a drum, into a visual, into a synth, into a violin, into strings. So I'm shaping my universe, and the instrument is just digging out datas and helps me to harmonize the datas upon my own style. This is very important because the Mint learns from who you are and in real time, and so gives you back the feedback as it was an augmented version of yourself. That is why I call it augmented music. And I define me as an augmented artist when I jump on stage.
So in journalism, for example, artificial intelligence helps us to write news, to gather information, to display visualizations in real time also. AI even writes poems, beautiful poems, if I may add. And you said that your instrument decodes the style of the artist and improvises, like you just said. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this works technically? You do this live and then you improvise. How can we imagine this to work on a technical side?
On a technical side, I don't know you as an audience how technical I can go deep into it, but if I am too technical, please stop me and I will explain better. Technically, I feed audios or MIDI data into a set of different cognitive schemes, and each of these cognitive schemes is pre-programmed by me with a huge amount of parameters that I can tweak in terms of how performing this brain should be or not. And every cognitive scheme takes what I am playing, so the human sources, and augments it and spits out new notes that I rewire into my instrument. So every time I press one key, this one note goes into an infinite set of cognitive schemes or brains, and they are just limited by the number of machines that I can use. Usually it's 16 brains per computer. So if I play with two computers, I can have 32 brains or 64 or whatever. And every time I press one note, each brain spits out another note that it's going well according to my style with the note I'm playing, and this happens in real time. So typically I play with a piano, a special piano called Disclavier by Yamaha, and I have 10 fingers in each stroke, in each moment on the keyboard, and these 10 notes are transformed in real time into 160 notes. And if I wire these 160 notes back again into the 16 brains, it's 116 times by 16, which makes it, don't make me do the head count, but it should be something around 1,720 notes or something like that in each second. And in each moment I press the keyboard. So this process can be layered according to the needs of complexity that you feel in that very moment, and can be processed in real time. So this is why and how I can create the performances. And these data can be transformed into notes, sounding notes, or visuals. So there is a 3D software that transforms each note into a point in a 3D space. And it's what you were seeing in the robot and behind my back in the very first video. So there's a 3D space, and every note has a pitch, a width, and a timbrical thing that defines its position in space. So pretty soon, all this massive cloud of points becomes something that it's becoming alive, and it's moving around the 3D space, and it's making forms, and it's creating worlds.
So at the beginning of your live performance, you don't know how it's going to end?
I kind of know because I program the brains, so I know pretty much how the brain is going to respond. So I know if a brain is suitable for a bass synth. I know if that brain, the parameter of that brains are more suitable for drum set, hi-hats, or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of know what to roughly know what to expect, but then since the process is all in real time, I can act on each brain in any given minute. So if the composition is really taking me into a very intimate set, I can only wire the hyper sound of piano, which is my special piano sound, because I stack and layer up all these massive notes on the piano itself. So it creates this thick cluster of dissonant piano sounding kind of thing. So I can just do a whole song just with that. Or if I feel something exploding inside me or in the crowd that I see live, I can just tweak in and turn on drums and synths and make it huge and make it sound super big. And the visuals are following this process itself in an automatic way. So when I turn in a channel and a brain, it pops up on stage and on the visual as well. So I kind of know, but I like to be driven and drifted apart from what I know to explore new universes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Linda Rath and Alex Braga. Our community had some questions for you too. Clara would like to know what the first reactions to your music looked like when you started.
Well, I was completely blown away when we first coded the software. I, of course, as I declared in the very beginning, I am an artist, I'm not a coder. So I found these two professors that were brave enough to follow my vision, and we designed the whole thing together, and then they wrote the code. And the very first time that we tried it, we could not believe to have something alive in our hands. And so to test it and to stress it out, we took one of the finest jazz improviser in the world, which is called Danilo Rea. It's an Italian piano player that used to play also with Chet Baker. So it's the top of improvisation. And the AI naming was following him in his improvisation, in his jazz improvisation perfectly. So we just said, wow, we created something, and now it's alive. It's in our hands. And we felt very, very proud as fathers and mothers and fathers of a new baby.
Yeah, of course you should be proud. We do have another question from Christian. He wants to know, do you think traditional music and artificial intelligence music will coexist, or will they eliminate each other?
No, they will never eliminate each other. I mean, it's not that they will not coexist. They will compenetrate and they will go together. I mean, the vision of future is not the vision of a sustainable development and future. It's not a thing coexisting and maybe being tied or beside each other. It's things blending into something completely new that we can imagine as future, and not just parallel realities that have to tolerate each other. Please, let's start to have this mindset for everything in life, not only music and AI.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alex Braga, for these really inspiring words, and also Professor Linda Rath for this enlightening Q&A.